There's a big gap between where we are and where we should be.
The disabled poor are part of a marginalized population that oftentimes missionaries don't reach.
If you considered people with disability as their own people group, they would be the most unreached people group in the world. Less than 1% are Christian.
Joni and Friends ministry field, our mission is to reach the disabled for Christ around the world.
We're Gordon and Judy Soares, and we've been involved with Joni and Friends for a number of years. Just becoming involved little by little, Judy began to work with Joni and Friends, and Joni in particular. Over the years, I became interested in that. My background is public health.
Joni and Friends is a parachurch organization. The goal always is to be equipping around the world. What makes Wheels for the World quite unique in taking wheelchairs to second and third world countries. Number one, it's a strong Christian agency. People need to know who we are and who we represent. And secondly, because Joni has lived her life in a wheelchair, she's very sensitive to it being very therapeutic. And by that I mean physical or occupational therapists, special rehab people or seating specialists seat people in chairs according to their medical needs.
Really, Thailand has become our place. That was through some divine appointments that I think God made for us to get there. The director of the Rasha Garinda Institute for Child Development, Dr. Samai, has taken the Joni and Friends protocols as the means by which all wheelchairs should be placed in Thailand.
My name is Joey Tell. RICD stands for the Rajanakarin Institute of Child Development, and it is a hospital here in northern Thailand that is dedicated to therapy and helping kids with disabilities.
Noted throughout Thailand as being the most sensitive with children with disabilities.
And then the Wheelchair Project, which is where they can get different equipment and mobility aids. And that's where I come into play. I am the project manager, and I have helped there for about 10 years full-time and 15 part-time. So I kind of grew up in the project.
Joni and Friends always wants to be working with the indigenous or the in-country church and believers in-country. So we had in-country partners that were non-church, then we had church partners. All that had to be set up before we went in with wheelchairs.
We work with Joni and Friends and Wheels of Hope and Convoy of Hope. We take the wheelchair, we check and we refurbish what needs refurbishing, and we then work alongside a local Thai occupational physical therapist to adapt the wheelchair to best suit the patient's needs.
So it's very important that we have mechanics there along with the therapist. We have support people too who take notes and do a lot of the interaction with the families while we're going through this process, but it's the mechanic who follows the orders of the therapist.
In the West, when you get a wheelchair, it's made in the factory with the patient in mind. Here we have to retrofit what we get. I've spent 6 hours or more on a single wheelchair before. It can be a very involved process. If you improperly fit a wheelchair to a patient, you could actually do more harm than good. A lot of our patients would not have any opportunity otherwise to get wheelchairs or equipment. We try to focus on those rural areas, those areas that are harder to get to.
The entree program in any country for Joni and Friends has been Wheels for the World because it's a very concrete visual to see how life-changing it is to give somebody a wheelchair and pick them up off the ground and take them off mama's back and give them more mobility. That takes a lot of partnerships even in the United States.
Joni and Friends is our only donor that sends a team to come and do an outreach. It's really great. They come in, and during the 2 weeks that they're here, we give away about 400 wheelchairs. This year is going to see our 10,000th wheelchair.
Through our involvement directly with the government, we're able to cut through a lot of the bureaucratic snafus that many of the other countries have to deal with.
We have since gained the royal patronage from the king's middle daughter, Princess Pratap.
The patronage of the royal family is extremely important to us, and without that, I think it would be extremely difficult to do what we do in Thailand. Because every chair that's given has a statement on the back that says, "This chair is a gift to the royal family and may not be bartered, sold, or traded." That means that we don't have a black market of chairs. And in fact, by having the verbiage on the back of the chair, it elevates the individual to something that no one else in the village has, which is a gift from the royal family.
We are allowed by the government to give a Thai Bible, and we are allowed to present Johnny's book, which is her original book about her life. We began talking about an expansion of ministry. So we presented to them another program of Joni and Friends called Family Retreat. Joni and Friends has provided initial funding, and in 2013 we held our first family retreat, Thailand style, at the Calnan Leadership Center, The Grove.
Families that have gotten a wheelchair can now go another step further and go to the retreat. The purpose is to give respite to the families and to give the children an experience that they can't have on a daily basis.
My wife, Jasmine, her main ministry is the family retreats. The focus is introducing the families to the idea that their loved one is a person first and the person God loves. And to introduce that relationship to the family, they get that renewed sense of worth that they can see in their loved ones.
We have pastors there, Thai pastors that can speak to them, somebody who can understand their issues and their problems and who wants to love on them. And to see that the church can continue to relate to them in a meaningful way. And eventually the families begin to sense something different here. That's the essence of the retreats. It remains for the families over time to come to their own conclusions, and it's God's work, not ours, as to whether they understand the role of Christ in their life.
And they leave with friends, and they leave with community. They leave with contact to a local church. They become involved, and they leave with hope. Disability, just like anything else, if you're not familiar with it, it is unnerving. It's as if you were going to a different country. We're looking to change that perception. We're looking to introduce people. You realize that they're a person that God loves just as much as anyone else. They need God just as much as the person sitting next to them.